Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Tom. I'm a photographer and filmmaker from Melbourne, Australia. I'm the face behind some of the work that you might have seen over on Instagram. So stuff like this and stuff like this. But I'm also for work a freelance filmmaker. So I've also done stuff like this. And work like this. All revolving around the niches of sports and real estate and anything else in between. So I've done a whole heap of that sort of stuff over the years. But now I want to focus my attention in on YouTube and helping you guys to develop your ability with editing, with your business, or even with growing your own audience on Instagram and on YouTube. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it. So the edit we're going to jump into today is the edit that you see in front of you. So it is an edit I'm super proud of. It was heavily inspired by a creator called Miles of Color, if you've ever seen his work. So that is actually one of his photos, and I've mimicked the same design as he did, but interpreted in my own sort of way. So if I flip the image here, I've just got it this way for the purposes of editing, but the final image will be rotated 180 degrees, so it'll be him being lifted up, which I thought was quite a cool concept. I've really been enjoying getting into more digital art, so really being able to express my ability to create these dreamscapes and express my imagination. I'm still waiting for this to load, I'm sorry. But here's what the final product will look orientation wise. I obviously need to put this still into Lightroom and start to develop it a little bit more, bring out those colors and finalize the crop and whatnot, but that is how it's going to look. I'm going to chuck it back around now and walk you guys through the edit. So what I did with this edit is I actually originally didn't plan to put him into the photo, so I wanted to design something that just had the elegance, and I thought of a dance in the way. So I found a picture of 3 dolphins, and when I find my images, a good thing to think about is finding images that you can use legally. I use Shutterstock and I use Unsplash. I find they're the best two for finding the best photos. I also have friends in the industry, like I said. Miles of Color was generous enough, Miles McCormack was generous enough to lend me that photo, or let me use that photo, and also to let, he hasn't actually seen this edit yet, so let's hope he likes it. So the photos I've used here is this photo here, which was quite a gorgeous photo. I thought the elegance of it was quite nice. Obviously picking something that was already underwater is so much easier than blending someone in midair to look like they're underwater. Is a lot easier. I then took this surface image that I found. I thought it was really dreamlike and looked really vibrant and blue, so I really picked that one. And then I went ahead and picked this image to get the seafloor. I like the idea of having the seafloor and having that darkness as well. I thought that it created the atmosphere that I wanted. I wanted it to look like a dance, and I wanted it to look elegant, but I also wanted to look like it was a little bit scary. I like the scarier images. I've taken this guy from another shot that I've taken a while ago. I can't remember where exactly that photo is from, but I use it all the time. If you had a look at my Instagram, I'll chuck a couple of photos where I've used it, but I use it a lot. And then I have taken obviously Miles's photo, and then these 3 dolphins I thought were great for that photo. I originally wanted to get them sort of spiraling around her, and I've done a more basic version of this edit where they're just dancing with her, and I thought that was a great shot, but I thought this really took it to the next level. So what I originally started with was the surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn off all these layers, and we're going to start fresh. So what I originally did at the start was I wanted to find the surface and develop the underwater element of this image. So what I did was I took the original, which is this one, and I merged the 2 images that you saw before. So I took the surface level image, I then took the seafloor, and what I did was I layered the seafloor image underneath the surface image, and it's as simple as a mask and an eraser. I took a mask and I added it to the surface image. I then took black with the paintbrush tool over here, put my flow down to about 5%, 5 to 10%, something smooth. Got a really big brush, and what I like to do here is, I won't do it, but hold down shift, click, and then hold down shift again and click again, and it'll create a solid line that's quite strong. And I just do that back and forth randomly, sort of, to blend it to look like it's the same image. Now, you're not going to get it perfect. It's more about finding, it's like replacing skies. It's more about finding two images that work well together rather than just trying to squish a square in a round hole. So that was what I did for that. I added the sky next. Now I picked this sky because I wanted that contrast between, you know, the warm and the cold colors. Even though it's not really a cold blue, I like the contrast between the blue and then the oranges. You know, everyone loves a good teal and orange, so I picked that. And then what I did was I went ahead and added the girl into the image. The tricky thing about her is she was already underwater, which is great. It's a really good start. But what I then had to do was go ahead and merge her. So what I did for that, she was a little bit too warm, a little bit too sharp, and the way that the shadows were working with the water wasn't really matching the way that she was working with her shadow. So what I did there was I took the mask selection and then clicked onto color balance, and what I did was I played around with the colors and the shadows and whatnot to make her match a little bit more. Even that difference there to there, it's a tiny little difference, but it makes a huge difference to making your image look like it gels together properly. The same thing with what I did was I did the same thing. Take this layer, add to mask selection, go over to curves. It's as simple as, to match those shadows, is take a dark point, lower it a little bit at a midpoint, and then pull those shadows up until you feel like they're matching. Even that again has made more of a difference than I have in my original image. I wanted to keep it looking a little bit sharp. I didn't want it to look dull. It's as simple as that to make your images merge just a little bit better. Now, obviously it's all about selection. It's about picking two images that work really well together to begin with, but this just sort of allows you to take two images that might not have gone together at all and merge them in together. So another thing that you can do here is you can take a layer, so add to mask selection, go down to your background layer, hit Command C, Command V. That'll duplicate that specific area of your bottom layer, drag that over your layer, and then what you can do is you can play around with the overlays. So I chuck it onto soft light, and all that does is just puts a layer of color over the top of an image. Now this works really well for above ground subjects. Obviously she's already got that hue of blue on her because she was already taken in a photo that was underwater. But I find that for above ground subjects can really help you merge the atmosphere of the image together. So I find that, you know, if you've taken a photo, say, where it's a little bit more overcast than you would have liked, this is a really good way of merging those two images together. So we're going to jump back into the edit now. Now up to this point I actually added the dolphins first. I didn't plan on adding him until a little bit later, so that was my original plan for the dolphins. So I wanted them to look like they were dancing around her and sort of surrounding her and looking elegant with her. But I then moved on from that edit and I placed them a little bit separately, and I got them in that sort of triangle formation around her. I wanted to look natural and a little bit random, but they look elegant. And that's the important thing about composites, is you want to take advantage of the ability to compose your image exactly how you want it. Obviously you don't want it to be stringent and you know, it's very specific and look like it's crafted. You want it to look a little bit random, but you also want to design it in a way that you can have it look the way that you feel will look best for the viewer. Take advantage of that opportunity, because when you have this full control of your image, it allows you to design compositions exactly how you want them. So what we're going to do now is, what I did after this was, you know, I played around with this edit a little bit, I colored it and I exported it onto my phone. I find that's a really good thing to do. If you're not sure about an edit and you've been looking at it a while, I find that exporting it, chucking it onto your phone and just leaving the house for a couple minutes. Even if you go for a walk, chuck your headphones in, head down to the beach. I'm lucky enough to go down to the beach, it's just nearby, but if you're not near a beach, just go for a walk and have the photo on your phone. That way you can open up your photos, zoom in a little bit, have a look, see what really annoys you, see what you love, and head back to the drawing board later on and finish off the edit. But now we're going to get into how I added Mr. Flying Man. What I've done to him is just added a little bit of a Gaussian blur and a motion blur just to make him look like he's a little bit out of focus, because when he's looking sharp like that, he doesn't really merge with the background, and he looks like he's sort of, it looks like he's been photoshopped into the image. He looks like he's been a sticker that's been put into the image. You don't want that. You want to look like he's merging with the background. So adding a tiny little bit of a Gaussian blur, I think I had it at 0.3, and adding a little bit of a motion blur, I think I had that at maybe 25 at 90 degrees, so heading straight up and down. Is a great way to merge those photos together and make him look like he's just a tiny bit out of focus. The next part that I did was I manipulated it. So color balance was the first thing I did. I just added a little bit of purple into the image, a little bit of blue into the shadows, and I sort of darkened it a little bit more. I then dropped the vibrance a little bit, took some of that saturation out of the image. I find taking saturation out of your subjects is a really, really good way to immediately make it look like they're together. I dropped the brightness a little bit, and then with the curves, I really sort of upped those shadows and made it look nice and dark. Now I think I actually took the curves away in the final edit, but I'll leave them in now. I then added, like I said before, took a sample of the background layer and stuck it over the top of him with a soft light layer. I believe that's a soft light layer. Yep, soft light layer. And then went from there. So the next step here is adding some light. So what I do for adding light is I use gradients. So what I've done here is I've just duplicated 2 gradients. Now the way I'll do that is I'll do it again. Is I go up to here to gradient, I go over here to radial, and then I just drag it to the position I want. I'll head into here. Now I've kept it white for this image, but usually you want to get it to as warm as you can, or a light warm color. That way it looks like it's real sunlight, but I thought there was enough orange on the horizon that I didn't need to here, so I kept it white. And all I do is go okay, hit okay, and then head over here to about 45, and then I've chucked that over to an overlay. Now I'll leave that. Obviously after that you want to rasterize it so you can then manipulate it, and then I've gone over with a mask and just made sure that it's only coming up above the horizon, because I didn't want it manipulating, because I've already added light to that bottom, plus it already had a lot of natural light in that image. The next part of this is I have added light to the whole image, and then I've gone ahead and just manipulated a bit of the colors of the image to finalize, and just added a few tiny little textures. Now the last part of what I've done here is I've added these strings. Now I originally made the edit where it was just him above the water, and I thought it didn't really have any story to it. It looked out of place. I'll show you an actual image. I'll show an image of what it looks like before he had the strings. Now it's a super subtle thing, but that was one of the benefits of exporting the photo, leaving it on my phone for a day, walking away from my computer, going on with a couple more edits, and coming back to it after I decided that there just wasn't enough story in the image. So what I did for that is I'll zoom right in here. The next part is I just added the string. So I'm going to head up to here to the shapes. Shape 1. So what I did for this is all I did was add a new layer. Make sure you do this on a new layer, that way you can manipulate it later. Took the pen tool and I drew from one spot to the other, lengthened that out, hit enter, and then went over to here, picked the stroke, and then went over to here and picked black, so it's a nice black color. Now you can choose black. I thought black, white, but I chose like a rope color, which was like a canvas kind of color, and I found that worked just because there's already a lot of orange. I found the whites sort of again look like they were stuck onto the image. Now I understand that you were going to be looking at it on a phone screen and you probably won't notice, but I thought that was the best color to make it look semi realistic. Now admittedly I rushed these a little bit, but that's the way it is. So I added the left one, and then I've added the right arm. I've also added those loops to be a little bit realistic, and then what I've gone and done is I've just painted a few sections to make it look, I've made it colder and darker underneath the water to look like the surface is influencing the string. I've also made it detach here to make it look realistic, and the same thing here, made it a little bit darker, matched it a little bit with that, and all I've done for that is taken the paintbrush, sampled the color, and then painted that over the string on the layout, on the actual string layer. Make sure you don't do it on its own layer, and that's as simple as that. After that, all I've done to finish this edit is I've taken it into Photoshop and flipped it around, simply using command directional arrow, and then edit it so it's a little bit more vibrant. And I've taken the gradient as everyone knows, if you've come from Instagram, the gradual filters. So I've taken the gradual filters just to look like it's shadows on either side and also bring emphasis to each of the characters. So super basic edit once it's back in Lightroom. A little bit of color adjustments, a little bit of upping the brightness and dehaze and whatnot, and then I've gone ahead and added a little bit of color with the camera calibration tools. But that's just about it for the edit there. I'm super stoked with how this one turned out. Let me get it on the white screen so you can see it. Yeah, I'm super stoked with how this edit turned out. It's a little bit more creative than I'm used to, but yeah, I'm pretty stoked with how it turned out. So thank you. If you've enjoyed this, please head over to my Instagram _TomNoski and check out my work. If you see me posting this in the coming days, head over and leave a comment, leave a save and like it and let me know what you think. So thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and I'll leave the links for Miles of Colors Instagram and YouTube in there as well, because he's been a big inspiration for this edit, and he's also helped me to obviously giving me the ideas, but then also giving me the subject for the photo. So head over to his Instagram as well. I'll show a little snippet of what inspired me for this photo. And yeah, I hope you all have a lovely day, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you.